Oh, how hilarious is that? Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here solo again today. Not only did I not have the mic in front of me, but it wasn't turned on. So, how do you like that? Welcome to On the Chain. This is going to be a great show tonight. Why? Because we are going to talk about predictions, crypto in review, SECV Ripple, XRP, all this crazy stuff. It is prediction time. So bring out the crystal ball and we are going to get ready. I think we should have some some audio at this point. I think we kind of missed the beginning, so everything should be up. Should be good right now. But anyhow, lots of great stuff that we're going to cover tonight. A lot of good things. XRP is going down, maybe heading to 10 cents. Maybe that's going to be the prediction. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But if you guys are ready to kick this thing off, I'm ready to go. So I say, let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Audio. So this is great. I want to give a quick shout out to Jay. Jay, the new member. How great is that? How great is that? We got a brand new member that just joined right here. Highlight, Jay became a YouTube member. Thank you, Jay, for the big support. You got a little NFT, a little guy smoking there with a mohawk. Very, very cool. So, what do we got? Darcy, Jeff's been on the beach or maybe a sunbed all day, as you can see in the picture right there. See that? All right. So, what do we got? We got all sorts of people, coming in here. Why don't you guys shout out real quick where you guys are tuning in from? And that would be a great way to kick this off because we got a lot of things to cover. I want to get into. Now I'm trying to think, where should we start that's going to be the most entertaining? And then we'll get into prediction time because it was an interesting week. We look some of this stuff, I swear to God, if it was like a year, a year or so ago, none of this conversation would be taking place. Wouldn't be thinking about prediction time and all these different things. But this is just so crazy, crazy times, crazy conversations. We got Hawaii, and I saw someone come in here from Norway. We've got Malaysia, someone all the way from Cocoa Beach, Florida, which is pretty cool. And we've got someone up in Montreal. Sorry for you up there. Someone up in Quebec. Got a lot of Canada tuning in, which is awesome. Someone from Guatemala. And I had a Spanish teacher out of Guatemala. That was awesome. So anyhow, here we go. All right, here's where we're gonna got the Pittsburgh over there. Robert from the pits. So check this out. So I'm gonna look at this. We talk a little bit about the metaverse. We talk about NFTs. Now, I saw this tweet come out and this article. I said, you know what? This is so spot on because as we've been looking at the metaverse, we looked at this and actually, and the title of this tweet was like so spot on. Is the metaverse a disguise strategy to take away your privacy? Now, one of the things that we're really digging into and learning about the CBDCs, uh, uh, the central bank digital currency. I was going to say the centrally backed digital currency. So you get these CBDCs, and the one common theme, the common denominator with a CBDC really is that it's programmable money. It adds a little bit of an element, little control element to it. Then enter the metaverse. And part of the metaverse, as we know, is the Meta. Now, Meta, another name that was taken on by the Facebook. But so metaverse, a disguise strategy to take away your privacy. Now, if you're playing a game, you go into like Second Life or some of those other games that never really seem to have much of a purpose, kind of just walk around. Um, everybody was kind of hidden behind, some sort of an avatar, some sort of a made up name. Obviously, there's some of these player versus player kind of role playing type games like was it EverQuest? But you get into some of these games and still hiding behind an avatar and a different name. Now in the metaverse, all of a sudden, it becomes you potentially, right? And you're kind of moving around and interacting. But what is actually going on in the metaverse? And that's like the biggest question. Everyone's like, is this thing for real? Is it going to be something beneficial? Do we really need it? Do we really have to go there? But disguised as a strategy to take away your privacy. Some analysts believe so. This opinion piece looks at the impact of the metaverse on our privacy and how decentralization could help. Now, I would hope that, as we move into a decentralized kind of environment, that it does more and helps actually protect individual privacy. Now, one of the things, we look at, and privacy is critical, right? I mean, you think about our entire existence, right? People say, look, I just want my privacy. I don't need people looking over my shoulder. Don't want people constantly interfering. Sometimes you want privacy, you just don't even want to see your neighbors type of privacy, right? And you might be in a community, you might be in an apartment complex and say, I don't even want to run into people. I just want privacy. Now, imagine you have big tech, you've got government, you got all these others that are looking into everything you do. Now, privacy has kind of been eroded already with Facebook and many of these other platforms where people pretty much tell everybody there is to hear whatever that, things that we never even want to know about other individuals. And it's kind of out there in the public sphere. Now, in this metaverse world, so I'm looking. So here's someone says, unlike some of my peers in the technology space, you know what I forgot to do? See, you guys don't even know what I'm looking at. Highlighting, looking, and you guys are like, you're just looking over to the side over here. Unlike some of my peers in the technology space, I don't see the metaverse as a virtual world in which we work, socialize, and shop. Rather, I see it as a point in time reached in 2020 and into this year because of the global, you know what, when the digital world became as important as the physical world. It's a shift away from the idea that physical reality is superior and preferred over digital reality. So, is this the case? Because now obviously we have, there's a lot of Zoom meetings. I had a Zoom meeting right before we got on here tonight. I was on a Zoom meeting. I was on another Zoom meeting earlier today. I think, I still prefer the phone. So still prefer getting on a regular phone. But here, people are buying virtual real estate. Children are spending time with their friends in Fortnite and Roblox, Facebook, going to Meta, all this stuff that we've talked about. Basically, we could have written this opinion piece. We've basically said all these things. Uh, and so here's the erosion of anonymity. As digital resources become more critical to us, they're being linked together more tightly, although we haven't hit yet a point where everything is integrated under a single account. Now, think about digital currency, not just the metaverse, but this idea of this single account, everything integrated, social scoring, everything exists in this digital format that is now intruded upon by so many others, right? So obviously there's a lot of digital privacy worries because identity theft, stolen personal information, targeted ads. There's a way to protect yourself against all of these things, identity theft and stolen personal information. And, it's concerning, but, there's things to do. But now as we get into it, now it's not just about are we continuously being observed, which we seem to be because you're tracked. You pick up, I'm looking for my phone. You pick up your phone and you're being tracked. You get online being tracked, post on social media being tracked, post on Twitter being tracked. At any moment you take a picture, you put it on social media, they look at the timestamp. They can then track where you were based on your phone. I mean, there's all of these different elements, but the one area that we haven't had privacy completely eroded yet is within money. And that's still within the fiat currency. As much as we're moving away from fiat currency as inflation kicks in and they're pushing us faster and faster in this direction of this digitization, this world of digitization with cryptocurrency. And it's interesting. We're going to look at a couple articles. Individuals that were naysayers before of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc., um, are now big fans of it based on overreach by various government agencies, government entities. And they're looking and saying, wow, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, we need to protect some of our anonymity, protect some of our rights, make sure that we're not surveilled at every moment in time. People are starting to wake up to this because as you look, like if you go through the EU and there's cameras all over the place, it's amazing. So is the metaverse just like the last spot, the last bastion of some sort of freedom, or not some sort of freedom, but the last bastion outside of the metaverse before we step into the metaverse, which is the end of freedom, is what I meant to say. So it's really, and it's really, it's an interesting perspective to start to try to analyze, because as we start looking at cryptocurrency, which was the decentralization, right, within the DeFi space, meaning, we're trying to pull away from this centralized control and erosion of privacy. And then you have the government agencies, the powers that be, that are pushing centrally backed digital currencies, central bank digital currencies. That's it at that point. Because right now you have your stable coin, you have your XRP, you've got whatever other cryptocurrency you might be holding. You move into a digital dollar or digital euro or digital yen or whatever it might be, and all of a sudden you're in this realm of programmable money. And now you go into the metaverse to spend your programmable money, and now that's it. That's kind of like the end, and it's kind of crazy. So that's why this is like a crazy time, crazy episode, crazy idea and notion of this prediction of the direction that everybody is kind of migrating to. I look at it a little differently. I look at the metaverse, it's almost, a little bit like a fad. It's more, it's some of these, games, and people might enjoy being there for a little bit, but then it kind of gets old. It's kind of like Facebook got played out after a while. People got fed up with Facebook and the way people used to interact and get excited back when Facebook launched. And now with Twitter, people are more engaged in these short, commentaries, but now it's bringing, kind of a community environment together, because you look at like the on the chain community and the crypto communities are coming together and kind of bonding within a social media space. Instead of attacking each other, people are coming together to learn from each other. And it's taken it a step beyond what Facebook was, and to the point where we gather here in, on these chats 6 days a week, Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we gather, and it's like this enjoyable time that everybody has to share ideas from all over the world, talking about cryptocurrencies and digital assets, and looking at where the space is actually migrating to, where it's actually moving to. Do we really need the metaverse to dictate what we like, what we want, how we perceive things? We need to get that personal touch back. And in some way, some method, we're accomplishing a little bit of this personal touch through the engagement that we get, like here in this YouTube world, in the YouTube verse. Is unreal as it is, we're still engaging and able to communicate. And it's really, I look, obviously, YouTube is kind of like television, 2.0, where we're able to interact with each other and learn from each other versus just learning from talking heads that who knows if we agree, disagree, whatever. There's no interaction. The metaverse is like this whole different realm of kind of complexity and confusion, and kind of it's like an overreach. It's like an overzealousness to erode people's freedoms, kind of along the path of what that is. So it's kind of crazy as we think about that, and as we're kind of moving in this direction of digital currencies, how did we get into a metaverse? Cryptocurrency, the digital asset, moving money across borders, transparency in that movement of currency. Really, it's a new financial technology. How do we help people make more money to better their lives so they can spend that time with their friends and their family in real life? Right? Sometimes that we look at a metaverse as a world, but really all of the things that we have around us are just tools. So, the YouTube, it's just a tool for us to learn from each other. It's not the end all be all. It's not our existence. So the metaverse, they're trying to create it like it's another existence. It's like world 2.0. And I think people are going to reject it because it needs to be a tool to accomplish an end goal, and then you leave. You can't exist there. It makes no sense to me. And so we have to use the tools towards positive outcome. And that's what I look at, how we've used the platform, and we look at Twitter as negative as Twitter can be, or some of the others. It's been utilized from a perspective that we can actually learn something. So that's funny. Irish Hitman is saying, I think the SEC is actually waiting for ETH 2.0. And there you go. So ETH 2.0, and the SEC way behind the eight ball on that one. Does Swift cutting off Russia mean anything for XRP? I don't think it really does at this point. I don't know that if Swift is going to cut off Russia, Russia already has its own Swift. Russia has its own mechanism of moving money and buying goods. So I don't know that it's going to have cutting off Swift will have an impact, but I don't think it'll be it's as detrimental to them as the rise in gas prices are positive to them. So the higher gas prices go and the barrel goes, the more well off the Russian economy is. so so that's that's kind of crazy. So anyhow, let's get into this. Let's get into prediction time, not just crazy talk time. So John Deaton has a prediction, and it's not just John Deaton, because we're going to look at David Schwartz. We're going to look at Thinking Crypto, Tony from Thinking Crypto. A lot of predictions came out in the past day or so, and so we want to look at each one of them. Now, John Deaton's prediction right here, right? The case against Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larsen is over. Over. That's it. It was over the day it was filed. There's no way the SEC meets its burden, can meet its burden. The SEC must prove the two executives had actual knowledge XRP was a security, or reckless in not knowing. Reckless. So what are all these things? What does this mean? Right? So they either had to have actual knowledge or they had to be reckless. So let's see what we got. So John Deaton continues to make sure we're on the right thread. In order to prove recklessness, the SEC must prove a reasonable person would have known XRP was a security because it was so clear and obvious to anyone at that time. Now, let's think about the time and date, the year of this. So John says, okay, let's review some of the evidence. October 2012, Perkins Coin Memo concluded XRP was not a security. Now, Ripple had actually hired them to do this whole analysis. They did their due diligence. They paid money. They went to the best of the best in the industry to really check this out, to see, hey, let's get into some opinion on this, some smart legal opinion on what the outcome would be. 2012. Now, until April of 2018, so we're talking about more than 6 years later, the SEC allowed staff, including enforcement lawyers, to trade and own crypto, get this, including XRP, without any restrictions. So Gary the G-Man Gensler, Daddy G, is now saying, and the SEC with the lawsuit that was dropped, prior to by Clayton, right? So we go all the way back. They dropped the lawsuit, and the statement and claim, going back to what they need to prove, is that they should have known that XRP was a security. And Gary Gensler has come out and said it's so clear. They should have known it would. But how is it that during that 6-year period, all of these individuals working at the SEC could then buy what they're considering an unregistered security? I mean, it's kind of ludicrous, right? So June 13th, 2018, the SEC legal memo analyzing with regards to XRP as a security, SEC enforcement lawyers do not conclude XRP as a security because there's no enforcement recommendation made. 6 years later, 6 years after 2012, obviously a couple years, 3 years before they end up filing a lawsuit. Now, June 14, 2018. This is a great analysis. It's a great breakdown. Hinman said Ethereum is no longer a security. Interesting, right? Because originally they came out and said that was his personal opinion. And now we come to find out that, in fact, it wasn't his personal opinion. He was actually speaking on behalf of the agency that he was working for. Now, he's saying that Ethereum wasn't a security because it's sufficiently decentralized. Since it can be argued the XRPL is at least as decentralized, if not more, it's reasonable to believe ongoing sales of XRP from 2018 forward were lawful, right? So here Hinman has his speech. Again, it was originally said personal, and now it's professional opinion, saying that Ethereum is not a security. It's sufficiently decentralized, but a reasonable person could argue that the XRPL is also decentralized, if not more decentralized than Ethereum. And therefore, that reasonable person would then be reasonable for them also to believe that if you were continuing to sell XRP from the moment Hinman made that speech, that from 2018 forward, at least at the minimum, it's lawful. It's not to be considered a security. So it's kind of like chaos a little bit, right? So this was back in 2018, but I like so DI was saying, God bless Nancy Wotas, truth teller, partner at Cooley, member of the venture capital working group who submitted the safe harbor memo to Bill Hinman, Wendy Moore, partner, Perkins Coy. Why isn't Ripple, right? If ETH, why not Ripple? I mean, it's just not rational. They've kind of lost rational thought process somewhere in all of this. So then John Deaton posts August 20th, 2018, meeting between Katz and Garlinghouse with, guess what? Oh, that's interesting. Clayton and Hinman. So Brad yells out ripples in purgatory because of the lack of clarity over XRP. Now, that's interesting because if either one of them had really thought that XRP was a security, why is it here Deaton is saying neither Clayton nor Hinman informed Garlinghouse or Ripple that they or the SEC believe XRP. So they have an opportunity, right? They've spoken out about Ethereum. Now, 2018, these are month after month here, right? So a lot was happening in that summer of 2018. Now, neither Clayton nor Hinman informed Garlinghouse or Ripple that they or the SEC believe XRP is actually a security. So now, this is where Dean has done a phenomenal job piecing all this stuff together, because now, fast forward 6 more months, Coinbase goes to the SEC January of 19, informs the SEC that it has concluded XRP is not a security and they're going to list XRP the following month. So February 2019, Coinbase is going live with XRP. You know what happened? The SEC said nothing. Zero. Like silence is acquiescence, right? So then what happens? XRP gets listed on Coinbase in 2019. So we forward. So January 1, 2020. I don't know why a tweet's gone here, but Baylor Inc., a financial investment firm, filed an ethics. You guys probably remember this. They filed an ethics declaration with the SEC, assuring the SEC that Baylor would only trade digital assets generally accepted in the financial industry as non-securities. Now, which three assets did they mention? Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. This is January 1 of 2 years ago. This isn't like ancient history. This is all unfolding just in the past couple years. So here's a lot of what they talked about. Here's what they're referencing. I hate when it blows up. Cryptocurrencies, in light of the extremely complex nature of the legal analysis regarding cryptocurrencies, to determine which ones are securities and which ones are not, Baylor has decided to allow investments in three cryptocurrencies. Which three? Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, that are generally accepted to be currencies and are not currently subject to regulation by the SEC. These three currencies are treated as non-covered securities. Outside of these cryptocurrency investments in other cryptocurrencies is prohibited. So what are one of them? Participation in ICOs, crypto-based derivatives. So you look at this and you're like, how is it at this point that Baylor filed an ethics declaration 2 years ago? The SEC still, guess what, said nothing. Nothing. So John continues, in summary, the 2012 Perkins-Coie opinion letter destroys the SEC's chance of proving Garlinghouse and Larsen actually believed XRP as security. And this is, I mean, if anyone has ever put any, thing together, John has put such an amazing summary together. So just outstanding. Now, I want to give two shout outs here. So we've got Core Pins with a huge donation. Appreciate that. Core Pins, huge donation. And then we've got Rob McDermott. Welcome as a brand new YouTube member. Rob McDermott is a brand new YouTube member. How cool is that? You can join along with others. Like we've got, unfortunately, it doesn't show up on our, when I pull it up on to the chat, but you guys see it in the YouTube chat. But you can see Legendary with Rocket, OTC Rocket, throwing up some OTC Rockets. But again, big shout out, new members that joined tonight, Jay so far, and Rob joined as OTC members. So big shout out. Rob just figured it out. So I like Evil Carrot, ethics, just some sort of animal. So don't know what ethics are. Doesn't ring a bell. Not sure where ethics fit into anything. But so now we continue. So if SEC enforcement lawyers, the experts who determine what is or isn't a security, couldn't make the case XRP was definitely a security as late as 2018, there's no way it can prove that Larsen and Garlinghouse were reckless in 2013. So there's no way they can make the case. They've obviously already stepped on themselves. They've kind of destroyed their opportunities. They want to go back to 2013, yet in 2012, Perkins and Coie had this nice opinion letter. So why, after hiring the best in the business, legal business, to analyze things like this, why would we, think that they would be acting unreasonably. I mean, it's really it's outlandish. So John Deaton continues. He says, in fact, Ripple can prove the opposite by showing that it wasn't even obvious to the SEC that XRP was a security by offering this up. Now, obviously, the SEC has multiple options over the years to say, hey, you know what, stop, including when Ripple invested in MoneyGram and transferred a significant amount of XRP to MoneyGram. Now, in order to do all of that, the SEC would have to have been informed and they would have had to have approved it. And they did it knowing that MoneyGram was then going to sell XRP. And in fact, MoneyGram at the time was utilizing the ODL. They were using RippleNet. They're using the ODL. They're using on-demand liquidity for foreign currency exchange successfully and saving money, which is one of the reasons why when they parted ways, mainly because of this suit, you see that now MoneyGram has pursued the Stellar Foundation and XLM. So let's move on. John Deaton, Clayton and Hinman didn't communicate XRP was a security during meetings until 4 months before the lawsuit. So all this time went by. The SEC allowed its staff to own or trade XRP without restriction up until 2019. I mean, you look at this and you're like, it's unconscionable. It allowed MoneyGram to sell XRP to retail holders through exchanges. We just referenced MoneyGram. Thus, Garlinghouse and Larsen can prove they didn't believe XRP was a security. They can also prove the SEC itself wasn't convinced XRP was a security. The final nail in the SEC's proverbial coffin, case, is proving what most independent market participants believe. Now, the SEC came out and actually really went after the XRP community. But John says, you proved that by offering the Coinbase and Baylor evidence. Coinbase, with its sophisticated securities lawyers, concluded way back in 19 that XRP was not a security. And they even communicated that to the SEC when they listed XRP, and the SEC was silent. Now, what was their intention? Was the SEC trying to entrap Coinbase? Was the SEC building such a strong case that it was just a open, shut, and sealed case where they knew they had the goods? They were going to prove that Ripple was selling an unregistered security and the case would be over in a matter of months. But no, that's not what happened, because they just were silent on all these things that were transpiring with Ripple and with XRP all these years, all the movement of money within the retail space, silent. So Baylor, a typical market participant, was very concerned about digital assets potentially being unregistered securities. And that's why they went to the SEC and said they would only trade digital assets that were accepted within the industry as non-securities. And guess what? The SEC was silent. Silent. No method, no methodology, no mention of anything, just silence, silent acquiescence. And then John says, at this point, the defense rests. It's over. It's like, it's over and done. What more can they do? Where do they go? Where do they go from this point? How do they rein all this back in? How do they wind it back up? How do they figure this out? It's just crazy. Jeffrey Miller says, John, don't forget about the one email that one guy, Frank, I believe, received from the SEC in October of 2020 saying the SEC has not made a determination on XRP being a security or not. So we look at that and you're like, well, they haven't even decided. October of 2020. What happens 2 months later? We all know. John says, I thought of it but forgot to include it as I was composing the tweet. That is probably one of the best summarized versions of events that has taken place in this entire saga, SEC v Ripple, SEC v XRP, SEC v the crypto community at large, because it's just it's crazy. So EC2189 says John Deaton is our Windex, brings the shine, no streaks, and clarity, more clarity than the leading SEC brands and Mr. G's MIT line of products, much more than the pillars of enforcement. And it's amazing, right? So you have to really try to contemplate what in the world is going on. Oh my God. It's so unbelievable. Crazy stuff. Big news over here, though. Irish Hitman saying Uphold got granted FCA license in the UK today. Uphold going live over in the UK. That's big news. Big news for Uphold. Uphold never took down XRP. BitTrue never took down XRP. Coinbase publicly traded, delisted, put a freeze on XRP. So crazy stuff. So that was our buddy John Deaton going through a lot of stuff. Let's see, we talked about that. Oh, here we go. Here's the next one. Then we'll get into some funny stuff, because this is our buddy over at Thinking Crypto, Tony Edward, Thinking Crypto. And we haven't had Tony on the show for a while. We're going to have to bring him back on. Sometimes we're competing to see who can get the next interview. Tony stacks up a lot of big interviews. But look at this. Relevant people in today's news: Tony Edward and President Biden. Look at that, Tony. You're right on par as relevant people right there. Relevant in the space. So, but Tony here says, prediction. Here's another prediction. So, a lot of predictions coming out today. A lot of different vibes coming on the heels of 222 2022 2022. Lots of twos. And we're going to get into that. Happens to be on a Tuesday. But anyhow, so Tony Edwards' prediction. Where's my mouse? There it is. Where'd it go? There we go. So Tony's prediction. POTUS. Oh, now I get it. Now I know why that became relevant to this tweet. Trying to figure that part out. POTUS crypto executive order will not be about anything bad. This is prediction. Nothing bad. Just a mandate. I don't like that word. Don't think mandate's a good word. I'm gonna X mandate out from the dictionary. It's no longer gonna be a word. But not anything but just a mandate to have government agencies work together on studying to presenting potential laws. This will trigger Bitcoin's retracement, and then alt season, bears will get wrecked within a month. So my prediction is that if they pass the executive order, I agree that it's more of an executive order to get agencies to work together, like the SEC and the CFTC to come together. Although there's been a law or a bill passed through Congress, through the House, I don't think it ever made it to the Senate. But I think it's going to be weak sauce. I think it's going to be it's going to have holes in it, or they're going to say, like, this is where they always come out and they say, don't worry, it's going to be 2 weeks, you don't have to worry any longer than that, or we're not going to take this away, we're not going to take that away, and then next thing you know, everything's been taken away. So the question is here, is it going to be innocuous, or is it going to be something that we should be concerned about? I have a feeling it's going to fall somewhere in between, something we don't have to worry about and something we significantly have to worry about. I have a feeling that they're going to find out that it's going to end up facing some potential lawsuits, as typical. Executive orders can also be undone when a new president comes in. So I think they have to contemplate that. There are a lot of naysayers, out there that are speaking, very outspokenly, negatively about the cryptocurrency space. However, overall, I think we're seeing some movement in the right direction overall, right? With the crypto space, crypto is gaining recognition and gaining media, whether positive media or negative media. It just seems that cryptocurrency is getting is getting recognized in the news, and that is important. And it's getting discussed. It's getting discussed by Gasparino, by Eleanor Terrett, as they go and they present in front of Fox Business. So a lot of major things that are going on here. And so as we kind of spin through all of this, crazy stuff, uh, let me see where to go. Oh, here we go. So all these things kind of unfolding at this moment. And then we have to say, hey, you know what? There's good and there's bad. So this one here, Ian Calderon, he was a former majority leader of the California State Assembly. He's and so here's what's interesting. Together with Dennis Porter and I are working on a bipartisan effort to legislatively explore, get this, Bitcoin as legal tender in where, say it ain't true, the state of California. More to come. Now the question is if it can get in front of their government, their local governments, and get voted on and get signed by the governor. That's a whole different discussion. But let's see. So some things that are unfolding here, kind of in Twitterverse, Twitter sphere. So there some good, interesting things going on, and then all of a sudden we've got something on the other side of it where we've got, oh, I didn't even share it. I feel so bad. I didn't even share what I was looking at. Not that. Look at that. Here we go. State of California. More to come. The metaverse. We talked about that. So then you kind of dwell into, into the, I don't want to say bad necessarily, but just into the different, to our friends from Montreal and other parts of Canada. We've got Canadian regulator alerts police to tweets by Coinbase and Kraken advocating non-custodial wallets. So you've got Jesse Powell and Brian Armstrong both tweeting that, hey, by the way, if you're a user of Coinbase or Kraken up in Canada, you may want to look into non-custodial wallets or hardware wallets, self-custody wallets. You might want to move off of the centralized exchange. Now, what's oh god, it's just I can't believe we're even talking about this again, as though, and it's right here up in Canada. It's just crazy. But Kristen Rose, the OSC's manager of public affairs, was quoted by the publication as saying, "We are aware of this information, have shared it with the RCMP and relevant federal agencies. Both Kraken and Coinbase are registered with the Financial Transactions Report Analysis Center of Canada as money service businesses." Obviously, they quoted Kraken's Powell tweeted a few times about the importance of using non-custodial wallets. And then it's crazy, right? So it just then Coinbase Armstrong also said, he said, concerning to see stuff like this in any country, especially such an economically free place like Canada. Self-custodial wallets are important. And this is obviously after the Emergency Act that we saw enacted up in Canada. The RCMP subsequently ordered banks, financial institutions, and crypto exchanges to freeze accounts and crypto wallets with ties to a convoy. The government even warned that more accounts were going to be frozen. So Brian Armstrong and Jesse Powell said, yeah, no. And so Now you've got some government agencies that are saying, hey, you know what? We're watching you. Better watch out. We're watching you, Coinbase and Kraken. So that's how that unfolds. So a little crazy stuff unfolding with that because, it just seems like this isn't here. I mean, just doesn't make any sense. But then there was this. Now I don't know who. I should look it up. I should have looked it up before I put it up here. So, and I kind of know who it is, but let me look it up real quick. Ruby Ruby on Rails. What is Ruby on Ruby on Rails is what? A web app framework. Here it is. They have a blog. I think this is it. I'm assuming this is it. So, a lot of stuff. Ruby on Rails. No clue. Now I don't even know. That might be, is it possible that's a different Ruby on Rails? Let's look at the team. So the team is all over the US. Now that's not an individual. So how would Ruby on Rails have some sort of commentary on what's happening? Let's see. Ruby on Rails, server-side web application framework written in Ruby under the MIT license. Now, Ruby on Rail crash course, Ruby on Rail capitulates, Ruby on Rails, here we go, creator. This is the one I was looking for. So the Ruby's on Rails creator, and there he is. Okay. Here's what I was trying to get. Here we go, finally. So we got the article over there. Ruby on Rails creator capitulates on Bitcoin after seeing Canada's government response to what was going on. And then here you've got the creator says, I was wrong. We need crypto. To say I've been skeptical about Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto universe would be an understatement of epic proportion. Since early 2010, some of my most ferocious Twitter battles have been against the HODL army and with laser eyes. There's just so much to oppose. Bitcoin's energy consumption, their transaction fees, low throughput, incessant pump and dump schemes in shitcoins, the wild price swings in the main coins, the obvious fraud that is Tether, the lack of real decentralization in most of current Web3 infrastructure, on and on and on, right? But then he says, beyond all these very real problems and challenges, my bigger beef was actually fueled by lack of imagination. Interesting. Why is that? I could see the fundamental promise of a digital currency free of banks if you're living in a failed state like Venezuela. Maybe an authoritarian regime, right? Like China or Iran. But what he couldn't contemplate, what he couldn't understand is how was Bitcoin relevant? How did it impact people's lives in stable Western democracies governed by the rule of law? Now, he was missing a big component, which is what we talked about yesterday, joining the financial infrastructure, people that are unbanked or find it hard to be banked. And he's referencing some other countries, but even in the Western world, yes. And so now, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're after you. So it's right. So enter the protests in Canada in 3 weeks of honking, blocking streets, bridges, bouncy castles, flag waving, etc. You see a shocking response from the government. First, the police department, they confiscate the GoFundMe, take all the donations. Then after there was an outcry, they were blocking the money for 7 to 10 days. So GoFundMe really lost some good reputation there. Then they finally said they would refund it. Then things got worse because they had tens of millions of dollars raised. Now, if you look at the Summer of Love, with all the money that was raised and all the destruction of billions of dollars of destruction, where they actually burned shit down, burned entire city blocks down. They actually took over an entire city block. Now, that wasn't in Canada, that was in the US. So, but you see some crazy stuff. Give, send, go started having issues. Turns out the concern over donations was quickly rendered insignificant, as just a few days later, the Canadian Prime Minister imposed martial law on the protesters. So he froze bank accounts with no due process, without anything. We talked about this. Now he's referencing it. There was no due process. They just froze the punishment without proof through a court system. Even in an authoritarian dictatorship, they still bring you in front of the judge. They still give you a quasi lawyer before they punish you. Here, they punished you before there was a trial. Zero trial. Doesn't matter if you agree, disagree, whatever. It's insane. It's just as much. But anyhow, so he's looking at all this stuff unfolding. He said it's crazy, bonkers, terrifying. He still can't believe what happened. I still can't believe that this is the protest that would prove every Bitcoin crank a profit. So about a week ago, we were saying that Canada's actions are the spark to the mainstream engagement, the realization and the normalization of cryptocurrency. So all these other things that were going on looking for the black swan, all of a sudden, it's like sitting right under our noses right up there in Canada. And here we go. Here's what happened. And that it was the Canadians who brought this on. You might as well have told me that was really the Care Bears who ran Abu Ghraib. I mean, so he goes on. Meanwhile, plenty of American commentators are cheering. Those terrible, horrible, no good, blah, blah, blah. They got what they deserved. So is to live life enjoyed in Denmark by population less vaccinated than Canadians. I mean, so here, I'm glad we all got this warning from Trudeau in Canada and not in the US from before, but from Trump. It would have been far too easy for Europeans in particular to dismiss authoritarian and an assertion of martial law. So that's what they expected here. You know, I mean, it's a little bit outlandish, but you would expect in Venezuela, Iran, China. I mean, this is when you see an awakening. Someone has an awakening. Is France different than Canada, Austria, Denmark? Is this the real wake-up call? I mean, you look at all this stuff, and you would have said, if anyone would have tried to predict this before, they would have said, this is crazy stuff. You don't need laser eyes or an NFT avatar to appreciate what happened, right? All of this stuff. But whatever this leads us next, it's clear to me now that I was too hasty to completely dismiss crypto on the basis of all things wrong with it at the moment, instead of appreciating the fundamental freedom to transact that it's currently our best shot at protecting. Talk about a major wake-up call by somebody that was anti-crypto that said, wait a minute, I think there's a point here. I mean, it's crazy what's happening. Captain Trudeau can't freeze DeFi. Nope. Can't get those wallets, those hardware wallets. A lot of stuff happening. I mean, it's amazing what's going on. Chip was taking the Indian for a joyride. That's what happened. So, man, I mean, it's just some insane stuff. Insane stuff. I'm trying to get through some of these comments. Taxation without representation. Man, I mean, I look at some of this. And it's just shocking. So shocking. Now, Coinbase added a new layer of security with the ledger. But what's even more interesting than that is that Twitter was going through a meltdown yesterday. I thought Twitter was going to come to a complete standstill yesterday. Somehow it didn't. David Schwartz was referencing the 2222 days. A lot of things happening on the February 22nd of 2022 on a Tuesday. The Tuesday for the twos. So I thought that was it. We're going to see the end of Twitter. So apparently Twitter lived. We all lived through it. Nothing miraculous happened on 2 for Tuesday, but it was like Taco Tuesday, 2 for Tuesday. Lot of great stuff. So I like this. This is probably just ridiculous. Guys, I sold my car to buy more XRP. Look, that's a funny one. It might have been floating around this sphere for a while, but guys, I sold. Look at everyone's upset about it. I like that. That's awesome. Funny stuff. Yeah, we kind of go through all these things. There's some great things going on here. There was a funny one, and I don't remember. Anyhow, look at this. The SEC ex-captain. It's all about stalling XRP and shaking out weak XRP holders. They're shaking out the weak hands. It's what everyone has always mentioned. A lot of stuff. There's always been a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of downturns, a lot of upturns. So then let me see. Pull this one out. So here's David Schwartz, 2 for Tuesday, right? This is where it gets funny. So X Crypto Wolf said David called the last XRP top around $2. Coincidence? I think not. Waiting from 123-321's day. Then you got Brad Garlinghouse in front of the 22.2. But where is it? No, we saw that one. Hang on. There was one that was really good. I got to get to it. I got to find it. I should have grabbed the link to it. Where hopefully I can find it. That was funny. Not as funny as the last one I found. Nope. All right. I guess I'm not going to find it. It's buried somewhere. It's how it goes. And that's it. It's gone. It's gone. Can't find it. So here's another one. Oh, that's it. You know what? There are no other ones. No, I do have another one. One more tweet here. This will be interesting. I'm going to pull this over here. Got one more tweet. See it? See if it opens. Here we go. So this was from DAI. Said, so Coinbase and everyone else gets threatened over potential DeFi lending products, but Ethereum, Joseph Lubin, talks freely about his and gets to have discussions without being threatened with an SEC lawsuit. DAI, Gary Gensler, Hester Beers, Secretary Heron Lee. What's going on? Why is this possible? How in the world does this continue like this? So you're going to single out Coinbase and some of these others and say, hey, you know what? Ethereum, hey, they get the free pass because they've all decided they want to go after, the too big to fail, right? So you got the nice handshake, the under the table handshake. You got to like it. Then you've got, see, where's I don't know. It's just, today was like yesterday and today, just super, super bizarre days, just overall. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out. We got some brand new On the Chain members tonight. Appreciate you guys. Had some big supporters here with us tonight as well. So I want to give a quick shout out to everyone that supports via the website, everyone that supports now via the YouTube, everyone that shows up, each night to join us live, everyone who listens to us on the playback. We get a a lot more people on the playback, but we appreciate everyone being live. We have a lot of fun together. And just a quick shout out here before we wrap up, because if you didn't know, Berserker does have a live stream that comes on shortly after this. And this is just a quick shout out to Berserker.
Come on, man, Berserker. Berserker. Come on, man, Berserker. Berserker.
Come on, man. Berserker. There you go. So that's it. That's what I've got. By the way, tomorrow night is an off night. So if you guys are going to try to gather with us Thursday night, not going to happen. Not going to be on tonight. However, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and back on Sunday. And then we have another month coming up here. A lot of great things that are going to unfold in the crypto space with XRP and the SEC via Ripple via XRP case. So tune back in. We'll check you guys out on the next one. I'm out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.